Hey everybody, I'm here to talk about the final paper and talk you through the components. First of all, I want to remind you that you turn in the first 5 components again. It's the proposal, but instead of being conditional language or future language, you're going to move all the verbs to I did analyze the data, or I somehow if anything that you will do in the proposal, move it to I did do. But if something changed, like your research question, your methods, if something changed, just change it in the proposal and explain. My research question initially started off as X, but as I got into it, I realized I couldn't answer that question, but I could better answer this question. So just talk us through any changes that you made to your proposal and put it into future tense. Moving on to section number 6. Your data and findings. This is the document that I have in front of me here. And you can find this in activities in our green left-hand menu. Your data and your findings is just your data. Don't add other authors. Don't analyze it in that way. But you want to, in general, create themes that recurred in your data that answer your research question. For instance, if your question was, how do students behave, then the answers would be themes of how they behaved. Students behaved like civic agents. Students behaved like silly kids. So anyway, each theme will represent something that occurred in your data, and we'll name it. And there's a lot of ways to do this, and some of you might separate your data first into 2 piles of they did do something or didn't do something. So there's a lot of different ways to present it besides just 3 or 4 themes. It might be you have 2 categories and then themes within that. You might have some numerical data to present. So however you do present that, good quality qualitative research always is grounded in data points. So don't just say, it looks like from my data that the students were very engaged. You must give data points to ground that claim. That means that you should give an excerpt from your field notes, you should give a quote from an interview, you should have multiple sources grounding one theme, and the primary source. You can look at APA how to cite your own sources that you collected, but it's not really important. More importantly, to me as your instructor, is you grounding your claims in actual primary source evidence. So not just talking us through what you thought you saw, but actually giving hard evidence of that. I hope that makes sense. Make sure your data is organized into themes, again, that are relevant to your research question. And then at the end of section 6, provide a brief summary of the data. So, kind of recap the themes and boil down what they mean. And then in section number 7, what I encourage you to do is to look at your literature review again. So go back up to section number 4, read it through, and ask yourself, how do my findings complicate or confirm or add to the existing research literature, the existing base of knowledge? So connect the literature, the existing knowledge to your data, and make a case about what these data mean. Don't just leave the data hanging there. So kind of talk us through what this might mean and make a clear case. Explain your data. And then section number 8 should be the easiest part. You need to make some conclusions. Therefore, you don't need to say it extrapolates to the whole world, or it definitely is the case in other classrooms, but you do need to say that perhaps teachers might want to consider the role of motivation in language learning, or whatever thing that you were studying. So it reflects that you learned something from the project, and you're clearly saying something for the field. You should say something for your own practice. You should make recommendations for your school. You can make recommendations for the field of education largely. You can make recommendations for teacher education programs like where I teach. as long as it's connected to the study. You don't need to overstate your findings, but you could state them as considerations for practice or policy. So I hope that that helps you. Make sure you go into lesson 13 because there's a lot of instructions in there too, like that you should add 5 to 10 pages on your revised proposal. That's another thing. Make sure that you do revise anything that I suggested in the proposal. Make sure you do revise that before you turn in the final paper, because then you'll get marked up again possibly. Otherwise, I hope you have fun. This step of the process is satisfying to you. Congratulations on all your hard work.